Blues Hotel.
All right, Kerry, thanks for joining us at the Blues Hotel. How are you going?
I'm great. Thanks, Calvin. Thanks for having us, mate.
Yes, it's not a problem. Kerry, I believe you've picked up the guitar at the age of 13. Can you share what drew you to the instrument and how those early days shaped your passion for the blues?
All right. Yes, I can. There's certain things I can remember, and I can remember that. It really was simple. I was introduced to, I guess, good gods at an early age, having three older brothers and their friends. So I got introduced to Clapton and Richie Blackmore and Hendrix and all these guys around the age between 10 and 13. So that's what I was growing up on. So I decided I wanted to be a guitar. Well, as every kid does. But
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
around when I was 13, my brother had been away, and when he'd come home, he'd brought this Maton back with him and picked that up. And, he showed me a few chords, and away I went. And I think within a week, I was over to the local music shop and brought my first guitar, second-hand old. What was it? It was an old, I think they were a New Zealand guitar. They wall call it Jason.
Yeah, right.
A friend of mine still got it. A friend of mine in Kansas still got that guitar. I sold it to him when I was like 15 or something.
Jeez, wow.
I updated to a Stratocaster copy then.
Right.
So that's what got me going. And once I picked it, I'm left-handed, but I play right-handed, side note. And I spent the first week flicking the guitar backwards and forwards from left to right, trying to work out what felt best. And my left hand being dominant wanted to work on the fretboard. So I ended up playing a guitar the way most right-handers do. But
interesting.
My left hand was really dominant. That's where it wanted to be. Yeah, I've done that with many things. Even when I played, soccer at school, I'd switch feet mostly because we played bare feet, and every now and then I kicked my big toe out of joint, so I'd have to swap predominant kicking foot for a while. So yeah, I've done that my whole life, swap backwards and forwards. Even to this day, the little screens you get if you go to the post office and they make you sign the phone for pick up a parcel. I can't do it with my left hand. I do it with my right hand.
Wow.
I use my hand, but I can't sign my name with my left hand with my finger. I can sort of do it with my right hand. This is just a scribbly mess, but it just feels totally uncomfortable to do it with my left hand.
Wow.
And everything else is left-handed. If I reach for a phone, if I reach for a hammer, I use a drill with my right hand and my left hand. So anyway, it's right off the subject, but yes, that's first week of playing guitar is very confusing for me.
Yeah, right. So what were some of the initial challenges you faced when you started out?
Initial challenge, apart from that one, just like anyone really, get music, limited music back in those days. You certainly couldn't get tab or anything, so it was either very simplified chord charts, which never sounded like the songs anyway, or you had to learn to read music, and I didn't have a music teacher. So, it was the old backwards and forwards with the cassette, trying to work songs out, listen to them. Ding,
of course.
And then I'd wake up in the middle of the night just sort of knowing a song. You'd know a part of it anyway, not a whole song, but I'd know a part of it. So, I had these, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I worked on the cattle stations from a young age. I started working on horse stud when I was 14 and went on the stations at 15, took guitars with me. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, practice, work out a song, go back to sleep. No country western, but no country and western.
So over the years, how's your approach to songwriting and performances evolved? Are there any specific moments that have marked a significant shifts in your musical style at all?
Not really. The only significant moment was because I worked on stations a lot, I really didn't have a lot of people to work with. So I'd come and jam on when I'd come into town with friends, and I had a friend who was a great guitar player. I used to jam in his band. That was up in Queensland. So I play a bit, but not a lot. It wasn't really until I stopped doing that and started traveling more and ended up over here, worked in a music shop. But I was already leaning more towards the blues. But I started, when I got over here, because I wasn't working with horses and I was full-time in the music shop, I went into this just cover pub band and we did the usual covers. But I get bored easily. So by the time we rehearsed it all and done 3 gigs, I was sick of the song. So that's because you have to play them as they are, sort of thing, And I like the freedom. of blues, where the creativity in it. You take the song, but you put yourself into it. So
Sure.
I think once I discovered that freedom and talking to a few old blues fellas, I got to talk to Albert Collins years ago for a few minutes, and that was really
Yeah,
good.
right.
And we talked blues, and he just said, when you play the blues, put you in it. You see, you can play my songs, but don't copy me. Play you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that just said, right, I've got free reign here. I've been given permission to be me in the songs, and that was it. I was
Blues
off
with the
after
feeling.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he said. If you're playing notes, you're not playing blues. You should be playing what you feel, and that's going to be different every night. So just go with it. Don't try and do the same thing.
Sure.
So that was
Sure.
really the big turning point for me, and that was back in the early '80s. Sometimes I think he was
Yeah,
traveling through
right.
Australia.
Right. So, have you had the opportunity to meet any of the other legendary blues musicians?
The only other legendary blues musician that I actually got to meet, and I've met quite a few musos, big names, having worked for this music shop where I worked back behind the scenes. We used to hire stage band equipment, amplifiers and drum kits, as well as PAs to local bands, but we had the backline gear we'd sell hired to touring acts. So the biggest blues act name outside Albert Collins I got to talk to was Robert Cray. So I worked for him for a night. Yeah. When he
Right, that would
first
be
became
interesting.
big in the mid '80s, took a couple of Fender Twins down to the entertainment centre because he was playing at the entertainment centre when it was still happening. So he got me, him and the band, and got invited to stay for the whole show. But I met big bands. I'm a big fan of Neil Young. I got to meet him and work with him through the same business. It was the only time I
Right.
actually had a bit of a fan moment where I couldn't talk properly for a minute. I had to go away and recollect myself. Sorry
Yep.
about that. Well, I got my shit together
As,
here.
as you do. As
Yeah.
you do. Yeah. Jeez.
But,
No. So you've cited legendary artists like Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, Robert Johnson as influences. How have these artists impacted your playing and your songwriting?
really, I guess it's pretty much the same way that everyone does. Hendrix has impacted me. See, everyone goes for the fuzziness of Hendrix. Well,
Yeah.
when I do a Hendrix show, I'll do that. But that's
Yeah.
not the Hendrix I fell in love with. It was the blues and those slightly overdriven tones that I
Yes.
fell in
Yeah.
love with. So the recordings of I know the live recordings of Hey Joe and Wind Cried Mary are very fuzzy, but that's more about your equipment and what you're doing on stage live. But those old fuzz pedals, and I use one, are pretty hard to control sometimes. They can be quite temperamental. But in the
Yeah.
studio, it's a different matter. See, it's a lot cleaner. It's more like an overdriven sound that he used for recording Hey Joe. Yeah, if you listen to the studio version of Hey Joe and Wind Cries Mary, most of those songs are very just sort of on the edge of overdriven. Even the early parts of Voodoo. So you got Voodoo Child Reprise and you got Voodoo Child. If you listen to Voodoo Child, it's really more like an overdriven sound. And then it becomes big and fuzzy as it goes through. So they're the tones. B.B. King's influence is funny enough. You pick his licks and a few licks and they just sort of, it's not that I sat down and work them, they just sort of happen. You play along with it and you pick this stuff up. I'm a bit lazy like that. I just sort of play along and then suddenly I realise I'm playing something that's very similar.
Yeah.
It was a thing that I discovered listening to some Lonnie Johnson a few
Yeah.
years later after I discovered Lonnie, and I'm listening to him and I thought, oh, Christ, Lonnie Johnson sounds like me. But then at the same time, I went, no, I sound like Lonnie Johnson. How did that happen? You know, and I've never heard this guy before. And
Yeah.
then I seen an interview with B.B. King, or I got B.B. King's autobiography. It might have been in that, where anyway, he mentions that Lonnie Johnson was one of his big influences. So I realized that even though I'm listening to Johnny Winter or whoever, I'm also listening to much earlier blues players.
There's a connection.
And once I realised that, I started going back to listen to Big Bill Broonzy and Lonnie Johnson and, T-Bone Walker and these guys. Not to try and copy them, but just to hear that earlier recordings and the sounds, to get those sounds. So most guys will come up to you, oh, you play very clean. And I think, well, I think I'm pretty dirty, but compared to a rock guitarist, I'm very clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm only,
Yeah.
mostly I'm only in that overdriven sound. And even some of the songs on that recording I sent you, surprisingly enough, I'm using a fuzz face, but I'm not using it fuzzy. I'm just using it for a little bit of grip and tone. I'm actually using it more for the tone of what that fuzz face has given me through my little Princeton amp. And in fact, the whole album's done on a Princeton amp in my room.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much, I think everything's the Princeton with a fuzz face. I don't think there's any overdrive on there. So fuzz
Right,
face
wow.
is used as an overdrive just to push the amp a bit.
Wow.
So that's what these early guys gave me for really, because they didn't have overdrives. Oh, they had an amp flat out, like Buddy Guy used to crank the amp flat out.
Yeah.
And then with the bigger amps, they used the fuzz face to get that sound. Or
That's
whatever fuzz
interesting.
pedal anyway. But the fuzz face is good because you can clean it up.
Yeah. So, do you see any of the more modern blues or other genre artists who you find interesting or have a that have inspired you in any way at all?
Definitely, yeah. Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan being one is a big influence. Again, I'm not Stevie Ray Vaughan by any stretch of the imagination, but again, it was someone said to me at a gig down south one time, "Oh, you sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan." I thought, well, I know of him, but I haven't heard his stuff. So when I heard his stuff, I thought, oh yeah, I do have that similar sound because he was a clean player too. It was all amp driven, sort of mostly amp driven, up from a tube screamer driving it and a bit of fuzz. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, love Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yeah. And
outside blues, I like Jack White. I really like a lot of Jack White stuff, even from the White Stripes onwards. It was my missus that introduced me to him. Said, "Oh, you might like this bloke." And I thought, she's a bit of a rock and roller. And I love this guy. Yeah, I could definitely hear the blues influence there.
Yeah.
Oh God, there is quite a few now. Obviously, there's I'm seeing faces, but I can't grab their names at the moment. There's a guy, Eric. Just can't think of his name. But yeah, there's a lot of modern blues guys that I really like, and a lot of they're not big names. There's a lot that aren't big names. There's a guy called Greg Koch. I don't play like him or do anything, but I really enjoy listening to him and watching. He's a very talented guitarist, and I do watch his vids and pinch something off him every now and then. So have a quick guitar lesson with these guys. Look, I'm open to have a listen to anything that might have some blues bass.
Okay. Your albums, they showcase a range of emotions and styles. Can you discuss the the creative process behind, obviously behind the creation of the albums?
Well, the last one I had in mind for a couple of years, to be honest. And I started recording drum tracks with my now Ian Ironside, Bones. Everyone knew him as Bones up here, who passed away early last year. We started recording just before he found out he had cancer. Started recording drum tracks. I had the name Raw to the Bone right from the start because I wanted to do a raw recording, but everything I do is raw. It's just how I record.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
I have simple gear. It's nothing flash. Matter of fact, I've gone back to one of my old cheap Unidine microphones, and after trying a lot of expensive microphones to get a good guitar sound I wanted, I found the cheap one that I've had for 40 years that's been sitting in the cupboard drawer for the last 20, gave me the tone I wanted. So I pulled that. It's an old Unidine Shure microphone, and I whacked that in front of the amp, and that gave it. Writing-wise, sometimes mostly I'm just fooling around on guitar, and then I'll come up with a bit of a tune or something like that. Other times I think of words, and so then I'll just put something simple together. Sometimes I want to do a specific thing. I got a song that was going to go on the album, but I never got words down for it. That was going to be purposely it was definitely Hendrix influence. Matter of fact, one on that album called Something Like This, believe it or not, is Hendrix influence in the riffing. But no matter how much I try to sound like someone else, I always end up being me. So I guess that's a good thing. It's frustrating sometimes because I'm trying to do something, but now I just go with what I get. That's it. I'll just go with it now. Give up trying to sound in a specific way.
Sure. So,
but yeah.
So with have all of your albums been recorded in your home?
I got a couple of tracks that were studio recorded mostly, but most of the albums, yes. So we're only talking about a couple of tracks. There's a couple of tracks that were recorded. One that's called "Where Your Love Grows" that was recorded in Perth. It wasn't cheap anyway, so I didn't go back. It was a great studio. I loved it, but it was so much under pressure because the dollars involved were So whilst the engineers did a great job, the studio experience was great. I didn't get exactly what I wanted simply because I couldn't afford to spend more time there. And it wasn't anything they'd done. It was more me still experimenting with guitar sounds. So I like being at home. But yeah, drum tracks generally are done in a studio somewhere. Couple of the tracks on Raw to the Bone. All of them bar two tracks Ian Bones. The other two are Leroy Cleaver, and he records them in his studio. And he's got quite an elaborate studio, unlike mine, which is very simple, still mostly analog. And I think a couple of the tracks on the album before that, Mean Old Town Blues, Leroy did as well. So yeah, I tend to get the drum tracks recorded by someone in their studio, and then I just do the rest at home. Everything else is done at home. And then I just run it through an online mastering thing that I have a connection to. I've found one that generally gives me, it doesn't change it too much. A lot of them change it too much and try to make it sound like every other record out there. And that's not what I'm after. If I want that, then I'd go to a studio.
Yeah, sure.
It's the only thing I don't like about modern blues recordings, or a lot of them anyway, is they all sound the same. They're heavily produced.
Too polished.
It's all polished, yeah. I think you guys are listening to the early blues. Why are you not trying? They're just not getting it. They've moved away from that. Yeah, that's so okay, but
So your recordings, they're all obviously raw. Are they live one takes, or are they? How do you?
Oh, no, the guitar could be 50 takes before I get the one I want. It's not so much the playing. I might do 3 or 4 takes, especially the solos, and every one of them will be different.
Yeah,
I might do a solo and not like it. I won't say I don't write a solo for a song. Some I do, but it's not written note for note. It's more I play it and I go, oh, that fits, but that part doesn't. So I'll play it again and I'll change a part. Mostly the takes are because I'm trying to get the sound. So I'm not, okay, that's not a sound that works with what I'm doing. Move the mic, or I'll turn on the overdrive, or I'll give it a bit more fuzz, or I'll crank the amp a bit more, whatever, or turn things down. It's really, so I do a lot of takes really just trying to get the tone I want. Because it is, I don't piece build a song. So I don't piece build the solo. When it's recorded, that is one take. I don't go, I'll play a little bit, go back and dub in. I don't do that. I play that whole. So if it's a 3-minute solo, then I spent 3 minutes recording it. And if there's a mistake in there, quite often I'll leave it there. I won't worry. Unless it's a real bad mistake, I won't worry about it. I'll just leave it.
Sure.
I like to do it. I like to do it that way.
Yeah, because it's raw.
It's raw. Johnny Winter used to do the same thing. You'll hear mistakes in some of these recordings. A lot of the guys, you'll hear a bum note. If you're really listening, Hendrix is a perfect example. There'll be a mistake in timing.
Yes.
Foxy Lady's got a mistake in the timing right in the early part. He does a riff in the early part. He doesn't do it on the 1. He does it on the 3. The band just follows him. But whenever you hear him play it live, he's always on the 1, on that particular, when he does that riff. And people go, oh, no, this is how the recording goes. So, no, he just fucked up, but he just left it there. Whoops, sorry about that. You'll have to edit that. It took me years to work that out. Once YouTube has been a great godsend because I got to see all the live. So when I was working at all the Hendrix stuff, I'd have to go and see as many live takes as I could because there's so many layers of guitar tracks. I just thought, well, I can't play all of them. So how's he doing it? You know, and if I can't find him, I'd go and look at Eric Johnson or someone that's covered songs. Even a bloke called Randy Hansen does a great Hendrix tribute show. So I'll go and see how he's pulled them off. So I can, because I don't do a Hendrix tribute show. I do a night of Hendrix music under the Blues Experience banner. So it's just me playing Hendrix. I'm not trying to be Hendrix, and it's not a tribute show as such. It's just an expression of the love of the music that I've grown up listening. So we'll do a whole 2-hour show of Hendrix every now and then.
Yeah,
of several different
albums. How do you prepare yourself for a gig? How do you know what? Yeah, how do you know? How do you prepare what you're going to perform? How are you going to perform it? Your expectations of your audience.
Okay, because I do a lot of ticketed shows. Most of them are ticketed shows. I take that to the Ellington or a Duke or whoever. I already got an idea of what I'm going to do. I'm working on one at the moment. But if I've got an idea in hand, I'll then look at the artists that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a Texas Blues night. Then I'll pick Stevie Ray, Albert Collins, Albert King, Johnny Winter, whoever else I can think of at the time. So then I'll go through their songs, pick the ones I like, and that are fairly easy to put together, but are still interesting and not all the same, obviously. So I do a little bit of a write-up, and then I'll show that, because I've got, first thing, I mean, this might sound selfish, but first thing it's got to be is interesting for me and the band to play. That's the first thing. Second thing, it's got to be interesting to the audience. So I want them to be interested in it. I want them to recognise some songs, but I don't want them to recognise every song. Because as far as I'm concerned, I've taken on myself that part of my job is introducing the blues to new audiences. Now, I get a lot of people that come that are blues fans, but I get a lot of people that just come along to have a look, see what it's all about.
Yeah, right, okay.
Including youngsters, when I say youngsters, one of the last Hendrix shows I did, this was at the Ellington, we had a table right beside us. There were 6 kids. They're all 18 to 20. After the first set, I just went and introduced myself and said, you guys just come for a bit of a sticky bick? It was an accident? And one of the girls went, oh, no, I'm a Hendrix fan. I grew up with Dad's playing Hendrix, I asked her, how old are you? 18. So she was a big fan, and she dragged all her mates down. That was great. You just get them people coming up to you, oh, that was great. I didn't think it'd be like this at our blues shows, and so, yeah, so the main thing is it's got to be interesting. It's got to have a format, and we got to have fun with it. And then I look at the musos, like I got my core musos, my bass player, my drummers. And then I'll look at, am I going to bring a keyboard player in, or am I going to bring a harmonica player in, or am I going to bring both in? How many can I afford to have on stage with me is more to the point. Because we're still trying to make a bit of a living. So
yeah, no, exactly.
So I've got to, but it's got to be interesting for us and interesting for the audience. And then and then obviously the venue's got to feel confident, and I've got to feel confident that we could sell tickets and get people in to listen to it. And then other than that, rehearsal wise, it's very loose. It's tight, that the structure's got to be tight. And then once I'm on stage, I just tell the guys, look, we've got a song, we go A to B, but we may go via Z before we get back to B. So just be prepared, listen, everyone listens to each other, and away we go. And I'll throw me keyboard players, big solos, I'll throw me harp players, solos, try and have little duets with them, guitar and keyboards, and just have a good fun night, basically.
Yeah.
And as my old drummer Bones used to say, we're going to go flying, and if we crash land, hopefully someone will catch us and we'll pick up, and away we'll go again, and just have fun doing it.
Exactly.
I don't like it overly structured. I just want everyone to be comfortable within the song, and be comfortable with me knowing that, when people get to play with me at first, they get a bit of a shock because I don't go A to B. Like I said, we'll get to B eventually, but we're going to go by every other letter in the alphabet before we get back there. The rehearsal room, we'll go to A to B, but it's just to get the structure of a song together. So it's a good fun night then. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then,
So, sorry, go on.
no, I was just going to say, and then like the old sports movie saying, give 100%, 110%, coach, and go for it. Yeah.
That's it. No. In your time, how have you seen the industry change from your early days till now? Do you think there's been a dramatic change?
So not really, other than the last few years, where everyone talked about being
Right.
shut down. And the shutdown effect
Mm.
has affected the music industry and the arts industry worldwide. It's left some sort
Yeah,
of
definitely.
psychological imprint in the audience members. And I'm finding that they are getting more open and coming back out again. But it financially damaged all of us pretty greatly. But it hasn't stopped us. And those that want to play will still keep playing, and we do our best. But it's sort of opened up another aspect of this computer world. I mean, I started doing little things online that I never thought I would do. I mean, my first few gigs when I was a young kid, teenager, 16, 17, back in those days, they had the big PAs, the 4560s and the mini Ws and whatnot. You had all that stuff in a small pub.
Yeah.
Well, if you wanted to see me playing, you'd look for the guitar headstock sticking out behind the speaker stack because I was firmly behind that stack. I just peep out to see it. I've gone from, so the big changes within me, I've gone from that to fronting my own band because after having a hiatus for 10 years and then, being a family man and going back working with horses and things, the kids grew up and the missus said, get back and play music. And I did. And I said, well, I'm going back and I want to do blues and I want to do it my way. So I'm going to have to be the front man because I don't want to be telling someone else what they should be doing. So I had to learn how to be at the front. I'm still learning how to do that. I can be a bit quirky on stage. I've had a few head injuries in my younger days, which has left me a bit strange, as people will tell you if they know me.
Talking about technology with platforms like your Bandcamp, your Spotify, your Apple Music, and that, how do you find your ability to reach your audiences?
Look, the ability to reach your audiences is simply just keep hammering it as best you can. I've tried the old, like everyone else, pay someone to do a bit. Most of them don't help. They just take your money. There are a few out there. I've had some, my best help has been from people like yourself. There's another DJ, John Lucas. I don't know if you know him. He's got an online blues radio show as well.
Right.
He helped me a lot. And then there's Jeff Pegler, who's DJ Radio, Blues Radio, the APRA Blues Radio Australia group. So all these guys like yourself, they've been my big helpers. I've had online Blues Radio world guys pick me up and help me and get me out. So got me into America and a few places like that. I'm still virtually unknown, but the Spotify's and that, I can't say it's really helped. I did it a couple of times for a couple of songs just to get it out there. Honestly, unless you're playing pop and doing something very commercial, they're not much help. All they do is take your money off you, really.
Yeah.
That's how I see it anyway. Bandcamp, on the other hand, you got to self-promote with Bandcamp. Bandcamp, they look after you. You make money out of Bandcamp. They take a small fee, but you make most of it. So I send everyone, if you want to buy something online from me, please go to Bandcamp, because if you go to Spotify, I'm not going to get nothing. I mean, I think last year I received it came through on me PayPal 6 cents or something after 12 months. I thought, woohoo. I'll buy that.
Right.
I can't even buy a bloody guitar pick for that.
No, that is ludicrous.
It's ludicrous. So I don't know how many plays you have to have. Apparently millions.
Yeah, gosh. So what would you say to rising blues musicians who, what advice would you give them for when they're starting out?
Take a breath while you're playing on stage. Don't be like all of us when we're young and play at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You got a lot of notes, you practice, you want to play them all at once. Don't. Give your audience a breather, and they'll appreciate when you do. I think I learned this years ago watching Eric Clapton. This was years ago. I seen there's a video clip back in the 80s there, late 80s. He was cleaning up anyway, so it might have been 90s cleaning up, but he was on stage. I think he brought Steve Vai or someone on stage with him, whoever it was. I think it was Steve Vai, phenomenal guitar player. Got him up there and they're playing, and Steve Vai did his thing and, million notes in a second sort of thing all over the fretboard, gymnastics. And it's funny, I'm watching the video and there was a bit of a close up and clap and you could see it in his face. He just went, I can't do that. Clapton's a good player. So he took a complete different route and he played like 3 notes and he held 1 note for about, I don't know how long, must have been half a minute, and he just held it. So he played this small, slow little lick and then held this note and he just kept holding it and working it, making it sustain. And even then you just see the camera goes onto Steve Vai's face or who it was, and he's just like, he's playing 1 note and that's where I went, it's not about what you can do, it's about how you do it. And he just made those 3 notes and that 1 note just blew Steve Vai off the stage. Not in skill, but in tone and deliverance. Steve Vai's skill was phenomenal. But in tone and emotion and deliverance, that 1 note just did it. That's when I realised, it's good. People like to see a bit of fancy playing, and I like to do it. Not as fast as I used to be, which turns out to be a good thing because it's made me work those notes more and try and put a bit more emotion into the notes. So, take a breath. Think about what you're playing before you do it.
That's it.
And for God's sake, don't think you're going to be a rock star overnight, because even if you're in the blues world, you're going to disappear again for a while. Look at the Mason Cavalieris and all these kids, They grab them, they build them up, they make them, and they rob everything out of them and they throw them to one side because they get too old. And it's good to see that Nathan's come back and is touring again and doing that at late age. I was thrilled to see that, actually.
Did you see his story on the ABC?
I caught part of it, So I know he went through a bit of a life. He, like so many of them, so many of them. And I love people like Kevin Borich is another one. We were talking about influences before. I was trying to think of Kevin Borich, phenomenal blues guitarist. I know he's originally a Kiwi, but like all Kiwi musos, we tend to claim them when they live here.
That's it, yeah.
I've been a fan of his for years, and again, a fan of his for a similar reason. Though I became even a bigger fan of Johnny Winter in my later years, because they just keep going and they keep playing. Same with Buddy Guy, you just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't give up.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing. If you're going to play blues, don't give up and be honest in your blues. Want to play rock? Go play rock. But don't call yourself a blues player if you're playing rock and roll. Call yourself a rock player.
Exactly. I just see that with the blues genre nowadays, it's just so broad.
Very broad. It's good to be broad, but they're stretching the imagination, some of them. Just writing the blues, honestly, just writing the blues bloody image glory or whatever. Even ZZ Top has admitted they've done the same thing. Well, Billy has anyway. Because when they started out, they were a raw blues band. They went a bit rock and it made them a big hit. And what happens is the record company goes, I want more of these. So they go, we'll do more of that because we're going to make a lot of money. And fair enough, that's what you do. They stayed in their basis of their song structure is definitely firmly locked in that blues structure. But bands like that admit when they get older and later on, they certainly stretch the imagination quite a bit.
Yeah.
When it comes to calling themselves blues. I like the early bands, Cream and that. They knew they were playing blues structures, but they titled themselves slightly different. What they did was acknowledge their influence came from the blues. So they paid tribute to their blues influences, but also firmly admitted that, oh no, we've taken it somewhere else. We're not trying to go into the blues heading here. And I like that. Some of these so-called blues players out there, I'm afraid I'd call Jack Whitemore blues and some of the so-called blues players out there. Simply because of I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't listened to his latest stuff, but his early stuff was very raw, very grungy, that real grunge blues where they just cranked their little bloody Fender amps up and away they went.
Yes. Yeah. You look at going back to the younger ones. You've got a young fella from Gosford that just went over to America. to break into the blues scene over there. Taj Farrant, you've heard of him?
I've heard Taj, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a
that's
great little
and
player
he's only
again.
15. He's 15.
Right.
Yeah,
He's had mummy and daddy push him along, I've noticed. But the boy
yeah,
can play, and
he can.
that's, look, I hate to sound like a bitter old guy, but when you're young, and especially if you got someone to push you,
Yes,
you can get yourself on stage with some phenomenal players simply because
yeah,
you're your age. I'll
yep,
get you up there. I've done it myself. Grab a young kid. Look at this young kid. Get him up on stage. So, but for him, I would say the same thing like that's happened to many others. Be careful.
yeah, yep.
Watch out. Don't let it go to your head. And mum and dad are going to have to watch that, I think.
Crash and burn, crash and burn.
Yeah, because you crash and burn. And look, he's a great little player. But there's so many of them out there, so many.
Yeah,
You go on the reels on Facebook and see some other young kid or young girl playing guitar, and you just go, "Oh, Christ, I couldn't do that when I was that age."
yeah. Well, he's got his sister there with him now too. His sister's playing piano with him.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. I've been watching him like a hawk on Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of social media promotion that he's been doing. So,
and you have to do that.
well, you have to, otherwise yeah,
Honestly, I when I first, like I said, when I came back into the music, and I got a few gigs in little festivals over Eastern Adelaide, and I played. I got involved in the Adelaide Guitar Festival years ago.
mm,
It was part of the Adelaide Guitar Festival's Guitars and Pubs, so I got quite a few gigs lined up in a week, and I went over for a week. But the first thing they said, "Are you on Facebook? Have you got a page?" I didn't have any of that. I don't even know how I got the invite to play, to be honest, because I didn't have any of that social media. So I had to set up all this stuff and get it all up so that they could advertise and I could advertise the thing. And yeah, it was a big
yeah,
learning curve for me because I was computer illiterate. I still am, to be honest. I mean, I spent yesterday preparing for today's just to check to see if my computer even had a camera.
yeah, right. Jeez.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a modern one, so I figured it had, but I didn't know how to turn it on or do anything with it. So I
yeah.
said, I got.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I've got an interview planned with the Perth Blues Club. What's his name?
Not Andrew or
Ken.
Ken. Yeah.
Ken.
Ken's a
Yeah,
lovely guy. Ken's a lovely guy.
He's a fantastic guy. I love him. He's great.
Yeah, he really
But
is. Nice.
technology-wise,
I
wouldn't
know.
have a bloody clue.
And you'll have to get someone
Yeah.
to set that up for him.
Yeah, I've got a bit of an issue at the moment with him because he's got an iPhone that's pretty much obsolete. He can't. I've given him the instructions to go and download this application, and the iPhone goes, nah,
It's too old.
too old. Yeah,
Well, could be worse. I have a band musician that I grab every now and then. I won't mention his name. I bloody well should and shame him. He's got a phone that's honestly, he's got a mobile phone, but it's like, might as well be from when did mobile phones first come out? Early 2000s anyway. It's the old granny
yeah.
one, big numbers. Yep. I'm not even sure if he can receive text, but he certainly can't do any computer stuff. He has no computer. You can't do any online stuff. So when I want to get on to him, I have to ring him and say, "Do you know these songs?" Can't send him songs or links, So I send them to my bass player and say, "Johnny, can you get Mark around to listen to these songs?" Yeah, I'll get him. Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, it's not too bad. He's a professional. He picks up stuff real quick, so it's good. But yeah, like when we're doing blues, there's so many different versions of blues songs out there. If I'm working off a particular one, I need to get that particular version to people because I've had at times people go, they lose the link, so they just look it up and learn someone else's version. That's not the one we're doing, mate. It's the wrong version of the song.
Talking about that, on your Raw to the Bone, you've got Stagger Lee.
That's my version.
How do you rework songs like that? I mean, you've got.
Honestly, I just wanted to play a sort of straight 12 bar, crunchy, so it's not really straight the way I've done it, but I've done it in a certain way.
Mm.
But I had the idea for the music. I'd been playing it and just chord structure, mucking around. I thought, I like this. Need some words. I'll go see what's free to use. And I'll come across Stagger Lee. And I'm like, yeah, that fits. So I looked up a
Wow.
few different versions of the Stagger Lee, and I thought, well, they're all doing miserable versions. Mine's a happy version. I'm going to do it my way.
I love that song. I mean, you go. Was it Robert Johnson that sang?
Oh, look, it's I don't know who's done the original recording. To be honest, it's an old folk ballad from the 1800s.
It is, yeah,
Late 1800s. So I don't know who recorded it first.
Yeah,
but it has been recorded by so many different people, and
and
they all sort of did similar.
It's the exact same story all the way through, but it's like some of the lyrics change. Would you believe Nick Cave?
Nick Cave, yeah, I listened to his version as well.
Yeah,
he does a great one.
That's great. Yep.
Yeah. And he's the perfect guy to do a sad version of a song because he's got that demeanor, he's got that emotion.
Yep.
Yep. And some of his biggest influences were, one of them was Nina Simone.
Yeah. Yep.
Get that. Blues heavily influences a lot of people. But yeah,
I
just
definitely
thought I want to do something different. Like I said, I had the music, I just needed words. And I thought, no, I'll go see what's in the public domain. And I come across that. I thought, yeah, I can make this fit.
Mm.
And then that's when I thought, well, go see who's done it, because I don't want any versions exactly like mine. And I don't want to be copying someone else's version. I want it different.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, no one's done it like me, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at a lot of other cover versions of like original blues folk songs. You've got the Midnight Special from Leadbelly.
Mm-hmm.
You got Credence. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I haven't really been full on interested in the blues genre for a long time. It's only been the last maybe 5 or 6 years. But you go and you listen to the original folk roots, blues from the back in the 20s and 30s, and it's amazing how many of those songs have actually been redone.
Oh yeah, well they appear in modern songs a lot. I first become aware of that. Actually, the first time I really became aware of old songs in the modern genre was Ted Mallory doing right there, not Jumping My Car, Dark Down Struthers Ball. When they came out with that song, I mean, heard it and went, oh, that's an old song from the 40s.
Hey?
And then I went, what? All right. So I started looking at songs and going backwards. And then that's when I realized Led Zeppelin were copying old blues songs. The Doors had done it. Cream had done it. You name it. There's old blues songs coming through everywhere. So, and still to this day, they are sneaking through. But talking about Leadbelly, who really is, I mean, he gets put in that blues genre, but he's really a folk ballad singer. That's what he is. But a perfect example is he does a song called Out on the Western Plain. Now, I do a cover version of that, but I do it like Rory Gallagher. So you listen to Rory Gallagher's version. It's a great version.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So you got to make this. And I always take it to heart again, what was said to me, when you do it, make it yours. So yeah, I try and, I don't want to take a song that's well known and change it. I'll keep the core structure of that, and then any solos or whatever, that's me. I won't copy anyone. That's me. But other than that, real old stuff, I'll try and make it my own. Even the first song on that album, Just Blame It on the Blues. That's my take on the same song that Ma Rainey did, and she was Blame It on the Blues. So it's more or less the same lyrics, but I did my own take on it. I wanted to do it that style. Again, I had the riff and everything, and I just quickly needed words, so I whacked it together. I think the rest are all mine. Yeah. I think it's just those two. The rest are all written by mine.
Yeah, well, I hope. Yeah, no.
So, the rest are all mine. I sometimes the words are hard for me. Sometimes they're hard. Sometimes they come easy. I'm dyslexic, so it's hard putting them together properly anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've woken up in the middle of the night with a riff in my head, and I'll race over and try and record it quietly, or get up and jot down a lyric line. Actual
You haven't
chord of
had
the
any
brains.
dreams like Paul McCartney did?
I've had music that I wake up. I wake up from a dream with a music in my head. Yeah, not lyrics.
Yeah,
But
okay.
definitely music. Yeah, I'll hear
Yeah,
it.
right. Wow.
I'll either hear it being played or I'm playing it in my dream. Then you have to become focused on it and start really just opening yourself up to it. Try and,
Yeah.
not desperately looking, but just go, okay, I want something, and just be aware and open to it. Then I just fool around on the guitar. Sometimes things happen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's bang, bang, bang. 3 or 4 tunes will come out in a row. Other times I sit there for months, nothing happened. Just go and play everyone else's tunes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's coming up for yourself, Kerry? Have you got any projects on the go? Have you got any?
Not gigs coming up, not until May. The 11th of May, we're at Lyrics Underground, and that's being put on by the Perth Folk and Roots Club, and putting a blues night on. So it's going to be my 3-piece, so playing. And another guy, Tony Shergold, and John Howard will be doing, they do a duo thing, so they'll be doing some of their original stuff. So it could be someone else, I think. I'm not sure. The Perth Folk Band's going to be there, blues. But it's a blues night, so that's on Mother's Day. So bring your mother down to the Lyrics Underground. It's a great venue.
It is.
I've done a couple of shows.
I mean, I can honestly say that I've never been there, but it's on the cards.
Yeah, it's downstairs. It's an underground venue. It's good sound, good little stage. They do a good sound job in there.
Right.
I've only done 2 shows there before, and both of them were fundraisers.
Okay.
I think. Well, one was definitely a fundraiser for a fire fundraiser. I think they were both fundraisers. But yeah, for fire, when there was big fires over east and then local fires here, we did one as well a couple of years back. So that was good to be part of it. So that was my experience there. But that's the 11th. And then anyone down south, I'm in Bridgetown on the 16th, playing at Lama Lounge for Karma Malama Records. They've got a small venue there. So I'll be playing there, doing some of the original stuff as well as covers, blues. But that's promoting the album. And then down to the following night, we're down at Albany Blues Club, again promoting the album and playing a whole pile of blues, and Hendrix to BB King and Stevie Ray and Albert Collins and all those guys, and playing songs off the Raw to the Bone album as well. They're the only ones confirmed. I have a couple in talks at the moment, so I'm looking at putting a couple of shows together, different shows. I haven't done them for a while. Got to check the email. Might be down at Bustleton again soon, but we're just waiting on a confirmation on that. If I head down to Bunbury Rail, sorry. If I head down there, I'm looking at possibly taking the 2-hour Hendrix gig down to Bunbury, so just waiting on confirmation on a date, so that'll be good.
Fantastic.
But yeah,
fantastic.
I have, I'd possibly do it. Well, I've got a show booked in TJ at a little music venue up there called the Chieftain. I played their opening night. Usually an acoustic blues show, so I go up there and do an acoustic blues night. It's a tiny little venue. I have to fit about 60 people in there, to be honest. But it's a Pacific music venue. It is a ticketed event. They put on different music shows there once a month. So they're definitely there in July. I think in July or August. It hasn't got to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure I'm at the Swan Hills Blues Club, which is at the Sterling Hotel in Guildford. Yeah, that's all going to be nailed down, but I'm pretty sure that's happening. So yeah, got a few things on the head, but I've got a new little show I'm looking at putting together, which will either be called the Songs of Chess Records or Chicago, but I'm looking at doing a lot of Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy and those guys that recording Chess Records, Helen Wolf.
That'll be interesting.
I haven't done something like that for a while, so I'm looking at doing that, bringing the harp player and the keyboard player.
Right.
That'll be
interesting. Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll have to
for that.
Yeah, definitely have to keep in touch and let us know when you're doing that, and we'll definitely pop down.
Hey, I'm trying to get down to Mandurah. So, there was a whispers that they're looking for bands, but whether they're looking for blues bands at a venue that's opening up down there, I'm not sure. But if you hear a new venue opening up, go down and tell them they need to have a blues band.
Yeah, definitely.
I've
Take your pick.
already made contact with the agent. So, just got to get my
Wow,
ass down there.
with all these new venues around Mandurah Way, take your pick. All these new breweries that are opening up.
Yeah, well, I think it might be some sort of brewery place. I'm not sure. I can't even remember the name now. It was because I went to, it was a lady acting as a booking agent for whoever down there. So I just put my hand up with her.
Yeah,
But nothing's been confirmed yet. But I think I actually used to go down to Mandurah. This quite a few years back now, but I was going down once a month. I think I did it for 3 months, once a month, and doing blues cruise on the ferries.
yes, wow,
Go down, do an acoustic show for an hour or whatever it was, an hour and a half, I think, on a blues cruise. They were doing on the ferries, doing the dolphin cruises around Mandurah.
wow, that's fantastic.
That was great. I loved it.
You don't say that anymore.
No, they're not doing them. But it was a bit of a drive for me, but it was worth it because I really enjoyed doing it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. All right, Kerry. Look, we're going to have to wrap it up. Thanks for having the chat with me. It's definitely been an interesting conversation. Where can listeners find your music if they want to purchase?
Okay, if you want to find me, simplest way is get in the computer and type in Kerry B Ryan Blues Experience, and you'll find me on Bandcamp, Facebook, and my webpage. And Facebook and the webpage should lead to Bandcamp as well. So one of them's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Facebook, if you want to see where I'm playing. I mean, I always advertise on my webpage where I'm playing anyway. Yeah, check us out on Facebook. That's the way you get different links. And you might get to see some kangaroo videos as well, because I've got some kangaroos here on the property I post.
Fantastic.
We had carers come in to help us out with an injured one a couple of years ago, and through trying to help this injured one, because they're wild roos, we've ended up for all these wild roos deciding they quite like us because we were feeding the young one, and we agreed to be a release spot for some roos up here from the 2J carers as well. So now we got these 9 release babies that were supposed to mingle with the wild ones and go away, but all they did was keep the wild ones here. So we got roos everywhere now. They'd like to come in every afternoon for a little feed. So every now and then, I put that on my personal page, but every now and then I share it to my band page as well, just because I've got a few people over east and overseas that like to see what the kangaroos are up to.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, definitely. All right, well, look, we'll definitely keep in touch, and good luck with what's coming up.
It'll be a great night. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to getting down south because it's the first time I've done a little tour down there in a long time. I'm not going to say a long time. From doing it nearly every weekend for about 8 years in a row and then stopping for a long time. This is the first time I've done a little tour, and I'm hoping to pick up a few more venues after this and start doing it on a regular basis and head down south and do little tours.
Oh, fantastic. All right, Kerry.
Thank you so much for having us, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us, Carl. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Definitely been a pleasure. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll let you go, and we'll definitely catch up.
No worries. Bye, Fender.
Thanks. Thanks, Kerry.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The Blues Hotel.